So I think I've just had a bit of a discovery. I don't know whether this makes sense, but I've just done 120 kilos for a single on the front squat. And this is probably the third time in about a week, maybe a week and a half, that I've done bench press before front squats. And I've felt horrible. So I've done a lot of bench pressing. So I did 11 sets of 10. I tried the 12 sets of 10, but I failed at rep 8. So that's 12 sets of bench with 90 kilos today. I've kind of been upping it every 10 kilos or so every, 4 or 5 days, something like that. And today I did the second day of working with 90 kilos. The first day I did 9 sets. Now I've done 12 sets or 11 sets. And I don't know why, but it's kind of happened that way, that I'm always front squatting after bench press. And my front squat has been, my front squats have felt horrible after benching. And now like all this stuff in my head is going around, hearing all of the greats, everyone that's ever had a really good bench press, they would always say, if you want to have a really good bench press, you need to have a strong upper back. Upper back. So if you see somebody has really well developed upper back, probably, if they've been training it, probably they have a really impressive bench press. Now, when we think about bench pressing, at least for me, I'm thinking about anterior deltoid, triceps, and pecs. Those are kind of the main movers. But everyone always says that the upper back is kind of like the differentiator between boys and men when it comes to benching. Okay, put that aside, that thought process, that cascade of thoughts to a side. Front squats, for me at least, has always been very intensive on the upper back. Of course, the primary movers are your quads, your glutes, the core, the rest of that is coming into play as well. But it's mostly, at least supposed to be, an upright squat pattern which involves the quads the most. Certainly I feel the quads. I'm not saying I don't feel the quads. Definitely the quads. But always for me, the rate limiting step in my progression has always been the upper back. How stiff can I have the upper back? How much thoracic compromise can I avoid? Obviously, the bar wants you to do this, bend you over, and then the moment that thing starts to move, that thoracic spine starts to unzip, you're gone. You're going to drop the bar. You might try to save it by, going into different positions to try to kind of alleviate that posture. There's all these different, compensation mechanisms that kind of take you so far, but eventually, if you have your thoracic spine moving, it's gone. So for me, the upper back and front squat has always been like a link, right? If I can solidify my upper back, I'll do really well. To take that a step further, whenever I've done lots of volume on the front squats, of course, quads get a bit of a pump, core gets fatigued. But the thing that sticks out by far, more soreness than any other body part after a really heavy front squat volume session, I always end up having traps. I don't even know if it's rhomboids or what it is. All these different traps start to hurting, like basically up here, through here, really, really sore, really sore. So that gets taxed like anything, much, much more sore than quads. So when I think about front squats, I'm thinking about upper back. Now these dudes over here are saying that bench press is all about upper back. I've just done bench press and I can't front squat. So this upper back common denominator there seems to be a link. Now I could be mistaken myself. Maybe it's a CNS thing. Maybe it's because I'm doing this as a second thing. But I'll tell you for one, for years I've done deadlifts before front squats and I've felt quite strong. I've done so many times I've done where I've kind of come in, hit 240, 250, 260 on the deadlift, and I come in and I do my front squat and I feel really good in the front squat. Work that out. So something about bench pressing, something about shoulder retraction when you bench. Obviously, you can't bench like this. Nobody's going to bench like this. You do this, you're not going to be very strong. So in order for you to bench well, you got to be doing this, right? Not so much like into your ears, but like, kind of depressing them down and doing this. You're supposed to be benching like this. So whatever the muscles responsible for that shoulder retraction, I'm thinking rhomboids, I'm thinking traps, I'm thinking, rear delts, all that stuff that's involved in you keeping your, that posture. All of that gets taxed, especially with a whole lot of volume that I've done in the bench press. Then I go to the front squats and it feels like shit, man. It feels so shit. The bar feels heavy. Upon unracking the bar, I'm feeling shit. So there's something there. And for the longest time, I've always said on the videos as well, and I've seen myself in the mirror that I have a very kind of narrow upper back. There's no thickness to me. You know, there's kind of like I just feel like my upper back is limiting me. And then I throw in a couple of more thoughts. I throw in that I'm quite weak off the floor in the deadlift. A lot of guys believe that the upper back is responsible for that as well. Now, when we say upper back, obviously, we're talking about two major muscles, traps and lats. For me, I've always said the width. You know, I can do pull-ups until the cows come home. Historically speaking, I've always done well with that. You know, always skinny kid, whatever. It doesn't say much for you to do pull-ups when you're freaking 50 kilos. But that's kind of my background. I've always kind of been all right with doing that. So I've had the width, but I've never had the thickness. I've never had that depth of the upper back. Weak off the floor on the deadlift. Weak on the bench press. You know, let's say, you know, I've trained the bench press on and off for a very long time, and I've had stagnation for a very long time as well. I haven't really had motivation, but still, I'm pretty shit in the bench press as well. So there's a couple of, you know, common patterns here that are forming, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe there's like a link here. You know, when it happens once, or it could just be coincidence, when it happens twice, you kind of start to scratch your head. When it happens 3 or 4 times, you're like, there must be a damn link. I have not had a really good front squat session for a while now, and I'm always doing front squats after bench press. Isn't that interesting? Now, originally, when I finished the benching portion today, I automatically kind of went under the bar to do the back squat. And this being pumped up, I've got a nice pump. Doing this, it's kind of like, fuck, that's really, really shit. And so automatically I started kind of widening my grip on the bar. And I was like, I ain't doing this. Let me just do front squat. If the chest wants to do this now, let's just do this. Started doing this, and I'm like, God damn, I can't even keep my freaking arms up with the empty bar. It just started feeling shit. And then if you have thoracic rounding, even with no weight, you start to add up the weight, all of a sudden it's a hell of a fight to even stabilize the thoracic spine. Obviously, we know, I keep repeating myself, if you don't have upper body stiffness when it comes to front squats, your legs can't even exert the force that they can. So it's just an interesting thing. I don't know whether you guys have ever made that connection, but maybe I'll say something that's really stupid here, but maybe what you're missing with your front squat is some bench pressing. I don't know. I mean, it could be a silly thing. Obviously, the first thing that pops into my mind right now is, why don't you do overhead press? That probably has more carryover to front squatting than benching. But I don't know about you guys, but when you are overhead pressing, nobody's overhead pressing like this, unless you're doing, behind the head pressing. Everyone presses like this, right? And what did I say to you about benching? Nobody's benching like this. That's shit. That's pronation of the shoulder. That's what's it called? Protraction of the shoulders. Nobody's benching like this, but this is how we're pressing, because you gotta clear your face, right? You can't take your freaking head off, put it to the side, and then do this, right? So your head is in the way. So then everyone's kind of like pressing like this. Everyone's doing that in that protracted kind of shoulder. Sure, that trains something around the upper back and the shoulder and whatever, but it's a lot different to this. This seems to be the thing that's really taxing my front squats. The ability to do this. Now, when we are front squatting, nobody's front squatting like this, right? We are front squatting like this. So in that sense, I'm just thinking my way through here. In that sense, it makes sense that the overhead press has more specificity to the front squat. But here we are, I'm feeling real bad with bench pressing. Interesting thoughts. I'm always kind of looking for motivations for the bench press, although I've said in the last video, I've had a lot of bench pressing in the last 2 weeks. I haven't been, making a lot of videos, obviously, so you guys are not up to scratch, but every other day now I'm benching for at least 10 sets. I'm getting after it. My shoulders are feeling great. I'm being motivated by the shitty elbows, the right elbow especially, and doing just sets of 10. My elbows feel like gravy. It's beautiful. Look what I can do. No pain, right? Like, it's beautiful. I feel like you punch somebody with no pain, right? It's a great feeling. And these are the kind of things that get me motivated to do more bench press. Health. Figure that out, right? Health and fitness. It's kind of lost in today's age when it comes to training. It's not about health anymore. People are like, no, let's trade in a few points of health to get a couple more gains. But anyway, I'm in the opposite. I'm like, okay, I'll do bench pressing until the cows come home. Just let me get rid of that elbow pain. And so that's one of the motivators. And now I'm kind of like making another connection. I'm like, damn, if this thing can carry it to front squats and address whatever the hell is going on upper, the upper cross of my body. I was gonna say cross syndrome, but it's not a cross syndrome. Well, it could be if you're doing this and you're walking around like that with your butt sticking out like this. That's kind of upper and lower cross syndrome, right? Tight pecs, tight lower back, weak abs. Like there's a particular posture that cross syndrome kind of present like. But this is the thing. With lots and lots of bench pressing, you start to, obviously, the prime movers get worked. But the prime movers can't exert their full force unless the upper back kicks in. And this is where a lot of that wisdom from the old school lifters, the upper back is everything when it comes to the bench press. And I think that's the case for a lot of lifts that we do. You know, everyone kind of can identify the prime movers in all the lifts, but what's really, keeping you back? What's really preventing you from going that step further? Stability is a big component to strength. It's not sexy, but it really is a big thing. Your chest and your pecs and your shoulders and your triceps can't exert force in this position. This is shit. Nobody can press like this. What you need is this. So the more you practice this, the more you're putting that muscle in a mechanical advantage for it to exert force. And if you're talking about strength, some of the best lifters in the world are best mechanically positioning themselves to exert the force, right? It's not, this is silly to say, it's not the owners of the strongest muscles in the world. Let's say they're kind of the best technicians. Obviously, they're strong as well. I'm not trying to say that they're weak by any stretch of the imagination, but it's kind of like there's technique involved, there's positioning, there's physics. Whether you understand maths and physics, whether you do or don't, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but we are governed by laws of nature, and this is the case. It's just an interesting connection that I've kind of made here. Who would have thought benching and front squats? Now, I have consumed a lot of weightlifting information, content over the years, and when it comes to squatting, you guys know where I get my inspirations from. It's not from Westside or powerlifting or low bar squatting. For me, the greatest motivators are the Olympic weightlifting kind of world. Klokovs, Lewis, Clarence Kennedy's, Tian Tao's, like these kind of characters, which, Lasha, my God, like some of the bears of the sport. To me, that is a beautiful expression of movement. And you guys know that I'm not governed by any genre of sport. I just want to do what I feel like is fun for me to do, or train. And in that circle of thinking, bench pressing is a big no-no because it screws up your shoulder mobility. So maybe that's why I've never heard this connection before. And then on the camp where they do a lot of bench pressing, they don't do a lot of front squatting. So the two worlds are, kind of avoiding each other for different reasons. But here I'm going, okay, powerlifting, the bench press, I'll take that from you guys. And I'll take the front squats from the Olympic weightlifting guys. Can these two things actually benefit each other? Could they actually do something here? And that to me is a really exciting thing. And to be honest, this is kind of the really exciting thing when it comes to training for me, is making those connections, thinking these things through. A lot of the times I make these connections and they're false and they kind of fizzle out after a few weeks. But like I say, when you have 3 or 4, reoccurrences of a particular phenomenon or a particular blip on the radar, you got to study it. There's something there. You can't have coincidence 4 times. So there could be something there. But the fact that I have not had a really good front squat session in a little while is kind of interesting to me, because the other day I failed 200, but I felt quite good the other day. So when I can squat 200, I can, on a good day, squat 170 probably on the front squat. And I have not felt all that confident like that in a while. So anyway, that's kind of what's been going through my mind. I don't know whether you guys have ever thought about this. Maybe there's no connection. Maybe that's my connection. Maybe that's my weakness. But let's see. I'm kind of really motivated with the bench pressing every other day. I'm smashing it on the other day. So I've got 2 workouts right now. Fill you in while if you're 14 minutes into the video, I might as well keep going and let you guys know what I've been doing. So bench pressing every other day. I come in and that's all I really do. I just come in and I bench press, lay on the bench, spend 45 an hour benching, 10 sets, The other day I did 20 sets. And then I do a front squat, just run up to one, and then I disappear. The day after, I come in and I just go crazy on quads. Quads. Pin squats, quarter squats, that kind of business. I even did kneeling squats the other day, like, you know, on TikTok, on YouTube, kind of like looking at all these different examples of people targeting their quads. I even thought about belt squats. I was reading something up, messing around here the other day, just quads. The theme of this whole year has been quads, and I just feel like I've been a little bit frustrated that I've not given it a proper go. I was almost there thinking about going back to my standard thought, which is hamstrings and glutes. Last year I had really good results when it comes to focusing on that. I've had quite poor results this year thinking about glutes, thinking about quads, but I feel like I don't feel like I've given it a good go. So the last few months of this year, I'm gonna really kind of get after the quads, have a wide selection of exercises that I attack. And then if in 2 months I don't see some sort of translation, if my hip doesn't start to feel better, if I don't get progress, like this year, I think the only PR that I've had is 185 kilo front squat. That's it. Nothing else has moved. So, and that was after some quad work. So I'll continue doing that, see if I can get that to 190. And if I can get 10 kilos onto my front squat in a year, I'll take it. Everything else has been crap. But that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Quads and bench press. That's kind of the two cascades of thought that I have right now. 2 boxes when it comes to training, and I'm exploring those 2 things. And I've been feeling great. Hips are feeling great. Elbows feeling great. Chest is everything's feeling great. And I think it's because of the whole volume. Just showering myself with a lot of perfusion, a lot of blood. And voila, your body starts to feel good when you stay away from the heavy shit. And you get stronger as well. So anyway, guys, like always, appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.